Welcome again. In part 2 of the flow control statements, I'm going to introduce range function as well as break continuous statements and else classes on loops. Okay, so let's just do quickly this execution, the standard execution. It is Python 3.10, and then range is an interesting function. It's it facilitates iteration over a sequence of numbers. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, the sequence of numbers doesn't have to be starting from 0 or 1. It can be a number, just a sequence of number. They don't have to be continuous. It could be skips. So that's why we can have as well put starting from 3 to 15 and then skips of 2. Okay, we can do that too. So here it says executes so it takes I over this sequence of numbers defined by range. Okay, so range, the outputs of range becomes an iterative feed to the parameter here, in this case I, the variable I. Okay, it becomes it is also called, because of this it's called iterable. Okay, iteration providing object, iterable. Okay, so here is the link. You can just see what this one is. This is, I did it as a loop. They take the values output values from the range function and then fed it into the for loop to execute the block. Okay, so if you want to just see a little bit more about the range function, here is so I'm creating it as a if you do without list, it will not print. Okay, it will just say an object. So we can see that also, for example. Okay, range 5 to time, let's say. What does it say? Okay, it won't do it actually it actually creates problem for the rest of the commands. So let me put it this way. Now you see this one. So it just simply says the range. It doesn't print out. But if you want to print out the outputs of the range function, then you have to make it as a list and print it. So that's what is happening here. You can actually take negative values, work on it. It's just from to increments like this. Okay, skips like this. From 2, you skip every 30 units. So that's where it is. It's starting from minus 10, but then minus 10 we have to skip left. That's what minus 30 means. So that means minus 40. Again, you have to skip another 30, that is 70. And if you skip more than, if you skip another 30, then it becomes 100. But this right side number is not included. Remember that right side number, the 2 number, the number posted in the 2 section is not included. That's why it stopped here. To iterate over the indices of a sequence, you can combine range and length function. So here is this is the sequence of words here. So for a, length of a, so for length of a, that means here 5 of them are there. So I in range 0 to 5, right? I in range 0 to 5. You take each one of the value, their corresponding indexed values of the a. Indexed values of the a. So I is equal to 0, a is 0, that is Mary. I is equal to 1, a is a1 is had. I is equal to 2, a2 is a. That's what it is printed here. Okay, so you can combine those range and length function in order to iterate over an object sequence. This I call it as an object sequence, not an integer sequence. Okay, so let's use break and continuous statements as an example with the else classes on loops. Here is I want to introduce prime numbers so that could be used for our purpose. Okay, so first of all, prime number is a number which is not divisible by other than its number, its own number. So so that's what it is. So 1 is neither a prime nor a composite number. The prime numbers are divisible only by the number 1 or itself. So number 1 is special anyway. Okay, number 1 or itself. So for example, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11 are all first few of the prime numbers. Okay, because it cannot be, it's not divisible by any other number. Like 2 is only divisible by 2 and 1. 3 is only divisible by 1 and 1 and 3, but not 2. The number okay, so this is not divisible by the rest of the numbers are all anyway to take a fraction. At least it's possible to divide by the previous number. So 2 is prime because it can be divided only by 2 and 1, and 3 is in the same way. It can be divided only by 3 and 1. It's not divisible by any other number. 5 is in the same way, okay, and 5 is the first number that ends with the 5, and no, a prime number, but rest of them are eliminated. All numbers ends with 5 will be eliminated because it is divisible by 5. Other than, you remember, a prime number is 1 which is divisible by another number other than itself, R1. Okay, so we want to find out all the primes within 2 and 10, for example, or maybe 2 and 100 maybe. Okay, let's just do that. 2 and 100, we want to ranges between 2 and 100, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 100. And then for whatever the value in the range, like 2, once you say select 2, then you are taking about 2, 2. If we select 3, then 2, 3. If we select 4, 2, 4, and so on. So it is incrementally increasing the range of values, or increasing the second for loop. And what we are saying is, we take n from here, and then we check for all the values up to the n, right? So n divided by x, the remainder is 0 or not. That's the question. If the remainder is 0, then it is it is a factor. That means the number x can be factored by some number, right? For example, 4 can be factored by 2, because 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then there is a remainder 0. So that's why 2 and 2 are factors. So we are going to print the factors, and then we will break. Once that is printed, we finish this work, right? We don't have to check it for other numbers, other numbers. And then we go back. Once you break here, this if, so there are actually 3 things are here, right? There is a for loop here to select n. There's another for loop to select the x number, which is between 2 and n. And then the division number, right? You take the n divided by x for each of the each of the values up to n. Each of the values up to n, and wherever it happens as a 0, then we know the product value. Okay, and then we break it out. So when we break, we are coming out of this. Okay, and then we are coming out of this loop, right? In fact, we are coming out of this loop also, and then else. So then you are going back. Else, if it is, it's always 0 until the number n minus 1. Then you just come here. Loop fell through without finding a factor, so it's a prime number. Okay, that's what this logic is about. So let's do this one. It's going to be a long one, because I'm talking about 100 numbers. So you can see this, what these factors are all. It gives you those factors too. Okay. So it's a very small script. It can do for infinity. It can do for days and so on. It will find that number. The other statement I want to introduce is continue statement. Continue is just continue the process. That's all. Okay. So for num in range 2 to 10, if num divisor 2 is equal to 0, print find an even number. Continue, print found an odd number. Okay. You didn't say else here. You remember, once it is found, either this happens or this happens. So num divided by 2 is equal to 0. Then it is even. Continue. I didn't say else. I could have said else, but then continue here. That means just continue the process and then print, because it's not there, or this is the only possibility. Okay. So if you run this one, this is what it will say. Found an even number, found an odd number, like that. That is the third statement I want to introduce is pass. The pass statement does nothing really. It can be used if the program requires a syntactic statement, but no action is required. So it may be if you run this one while true. Keyboard interrupt, okay, because if you don't do that, you will just be waiting, right? So it is just you see this one, it is waiting, so you have to do a keyboard interruption. Okay, so I'm going to interrupt and then it will stop. Escape, control C, you have to do the keyboard interruption is control C. Okay, it will come back because I think it's looping, it's waiting to get my my control, right? I should have immediately done it. Otherwise, it will take some time. Okay. The other way, you can interrupt also here. Okay. This is the problem. It will happen. Control CC or I. Okay. Okay. Or I will go here. Interrupt. That's the way to use this is also escape I immediately. Okay. So I can do that too. So let me do the escape. Okay, it just stopped. interrupted. Okay. The other thing I want to introduce today is, I won't go into it, but I'm going to introduce in the next lecture, function definition. So here is actually I'm defining a function. Def means define a function, and its name is init log, and there are arguments that needs to be passed to it. Okay. So, and then I'm saying, just say pass here, and remember to implement with the notes and so on. But the thing is, we don't want to, if I go into it again, it's going to continue. I have to say control C to escape, or escape I continue to do that, to all those things. So that it just passes, nothing else. Okay, nothing to do, but it may be useful to keep some notes for yourself, or some comments and so on. Okay, that's all. The other one I want to introduce you today is match statement. A match statement takes an expression and compares its value to successive patterns given one or more case blocks. So here is a great example. Define a function HTTP error status. Based on the status, it will say match status is case 400, which means it's a bad request. If it is match status is, so the status will be a number coming from your web server. Okay, so it will give 400, 404, 418 or something like that. So if it is 400, we should return, the program should return bad request. If it's 404, it will return case 404, it will return not found, case 4108. So it's a case-based collection of statements to execute. Case values, match status is based on the case values. Okay, and here if it is 401 or 403 or 404, not allowed. And then case colon for all the other things, this means colon here means really for all the other things, underscore colon means for all the other things, return something is wrong with the internet. Okay, that's so I introduced you pass, continue, and also multiple if statements. Okay, multiple blocks of execution, like there is a for, there's another for, there's a if. And then for the for you also have else. Okay, else class. So that's why it's a very complex collection of control statements there, control movements of the execution condition. So we saw match statement also. So here is now what I want to do is I want to introduce you to the enum. Okay, so I will stop with this one. That will be third for today. Thank you very much.